Hi there, boys and girls. What's happening? Get my recording device all set up for you. And, yep, still in the basement. It happens. So, almost everyone, 75-80%, did great on the assignments from last week when we talked about order of operations the first day. A couple of you still dragging, getting caught up on some of the old rules that you learned in maybe last year or something like that, and just common mistakes. So we're going to stick with the order of operations today, probably even tomorrow, just to make sure everybody's caught up on the same page. For those of you who did well, it is going to get a little bit harder, so make sure you're paying attention. And two, it's just another opportunity for you to do well and put points in the grade. So pay attention. Here we go. Make sure you're reaching out to emails if you're asking questions, if there's things you don't understand, and order of operations. We touched on the last video and the last lesson last week. We only have 4 levels to our order of operations. Don't think of them as 6 different things. There are 4 different levels to our order of operations. I even took out the word parentheses because that's only one type of grouping symbol that we'll come across. So the first layer here for order of operations is grouping symbols. Now, it's important to understand what is a grouping symbol. It could be parentheses, brackets, or braces, but grouping symbol doesn't mean I do this part of the problem absolutely first. Sometimes you do, so it depends. Grouping symbol means the stuff inside the grouping symbol has to be done first. That's what grouping symbol means. So, when you see grouping symbols, that means do the inside stuff first, if there's inside stuff. If I look over here, there's nothing inside these parentheses. Parentheses can be a little bit confusing, because if I see parentheses written like this with only one number inside, that's actually a multiplication problem. Okay? So don't think parentheses are always grouping symbols. They're not. Sometimes they mean multiplication. It can be confusing. Take your time, be careful, see what the problem's actually saying. Step 2, take care of exponents. Didn't throw any on today. Step 3, and again, this is where some of our confusion was last week. If you have only multiplication and division in a problem, then you proceed left to right. If you have only addition and subtraction in a problem, then you proceed left to right. If there's a mixed operations here, then you go in this order. All right, here we go. Number 1, I'll start at number 2. Number 1, I have division. I have these symbols, but we just talked about it. There's nothing inside there to do. So this is a multiplication problem and a division problem. I've got multiplication and a division. Notice what I'm doing here. I'm not drawing and trying to do math first. My first thing that I have to do in my head, and even when I do these problems, is I have to look at the whole problem and see what operations there are. Don't just get so excited and get going so fast on a problem that you get going too soon. Look at the problem, evaluate it, see where you need to start. Multiplication, division, when I have both of those, I go left to right. So the operation to do first, 32 divided by 8 is 4. I didn't do this part yet, so it stays. 4 times 4, 16. They're both on the same level. Proceed left to right. Number 2, I see subtraction. I see another thing here, grouping symbol, but there's nothing inside there, so it's a multiplication problem. So I've got subtraction and multiplication. So now, multiplication, subtraction. Multiplication has to be done first. 15 minus 12, 15 minus 12, 3. All right, number 3. I got negative 6 minus 8 plus 5 minus 4. It's all addition and subtraction. Everything is on this level. So when I have everything on the same level, proceed left to right. So we go left to right, and we're just going to do these one at a time. Negative 6 minus 8 is negative 14. Again, I'm going left to right. Most of you, I'm going to guess, not real good doing that with your head. Told you last week, I recommend you have a real calculator there with you. They're just easier to use than switching back and forth between whatever device you're on. And like you click on to a calculator and click off. If all you have is the device, they'll work just fine. You can pull up a calculator on any one of those machines, be it your phone, be it a Chromebook, be it a laptop or a home computer. They have built-in calculators, they'll work just fine. When we get into fractions and decimals, they do have some limitations, but for most things, they'll work just fine. Be very careful on those, that you know the difference between a negative sign and a subtraction sign, because depending on what machine and what you're using, they'll behave differently, so be careful. All right, so again, I've got an addition problem and a subtraction problem. So I proceed left to right. Negative 14 plus 5 is negative 9. Negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13. If negative signs absolutely melt your brain, take your time and be careful with them, all right, to make sure you're not making mistakes, and use the calculators. All right, number 4, I see a negative 8 plus something. Inside here, this is a grouping symbol. This is grouping these problems together and telling me my grouping symbol, I have to do the inside parentheses part first. So again, I'm going to grab the calculator. I've got negative 8 plus. I punch this into a calculator, I get negative 12. Now, it's some debate or discussion, you know, do you have to write it like this? Well, there's different ways to mean the same thing. Your calculator won't care. When you see parentheses, if you put parentheses in there, if you go to a calculator, you type in negative 8 plus parentheses negative 12, it'll work it just fine, okay? Of course, you could rewrite this problem, negative 8 minus 12, because I can take this plus and minus sign and write it as just a plain minus sign. The nice thing is, mathematically, it doesn't really matter. It's really just a visual thing. So now when we do this, either way I work this out, I get negative 20, okay? I'm not going to kill you right now on writing these when it comes to assessments. As long as you're getting the right answer, you're good to go. All right, number 5. So here we go. Again, I've got negative 8 plus negative 5. So this right here, we just talked about it. Plus and negative means minus. You're using calculators right now. You write plus negative on that calculator, it's going to handle the operation just fine. If I'm going negative 8 plus negative 5, that gives me, again, so now, oh wait, I even got ahead of myself here. What are the operations in my problem? Are those grouping symbols? No. No, they're not. There's nothing inside here to group together. So I don't have grouping symbols. I don't have exponents. I have a parentheses. Is it telling me to multiply? No. The difference here, this is multiplication because they're written right next to each other. This is multiplication. They're written right next to each other. This is not multiplication because there's symbols and signs between the numbers. So all this is telling me is that it's a negative 5. It's plus negative 5. That's all those parentheses mean. So be careful. Make sure you're interpreting those symbols the correct way. Negative 8 plus negative 5 minus 7. That's addition and subtraction problems. I'm going left to right. Negative 13 minus 7. Negative 20. 2 more problems. Here we go. Holy smokes. All right, I see a lot of grouping symbols here. I've got 8 plus, I got these big old brackets. So that big old brackets out here means do all the stuff inside the brackets before you mess with the 8 plus. 8 plus is going to be like the last thing we do because it's outside the brackets. I got to get all the bracket stuff done first. In here, 3 minus 2, parentheses tells me 6 plus 2. So here we go. Grouping symbols. Whenever you have more than one grouping symbol, you go inside out. Do the innermost grouping symbol first and work your way out. So here we go. Innermost grouping symbol is 6 plus 2. Be careful here. Do one step at a time. I know a lot of you want to jump right here to this subtraction problem. Don't do it. Don't do it. take your time, rewrite the problem. One step at a time. But Mr. Stevens, I don't have any paper. You really need to get some. You really need to write this stuff down. You're not going to be able to do all these problems in your head. Okay? You really need to have something where you're writing these problems down. Even though the problems are on a computer, you really need to write them on a piece of paper. Now, the real reason I told you to stress this, one step at a time. Again, right here, I'm inside these brackets. I'm still cleaning up that. What operations are inside my brackets? I've got 3 minus 2 times 8. I've got multiplication and subtraction. Multiplication is the most important operation here. Don't go flying into this problem and do the 3 minus 2 first. Don't do it. Multiplication is more important. Multiplication gets done first. So now, that's 3 minus 16. Again, dealing with those negatives. Some of you may have a problem with it. That's okay. 8 plus. Do I have to write the brackets? You can get where but they're just grouping symbols like we have over here. They're not doing anything for me. 8 plus negative 13, negative 5. Okay? Take your time, one step at a time, especially as we're getting going early on here. You guys haven't been in a math classroom, most of you, since March, all right? Don't try to do all this stuff in your head. Write it down on a piece of paper. Here we go. One more problem. Let's tackle this one here. Again, I see addition. I see a number next to a parentheses. That means multiplication. I see grouping symbols telling me to do the inside stuff. Inside stuff first. 5 plus 2. 5 plus 2. What does this mean? Is that a grouping symbol? Well, we did the grouping symbol. Is it an exponent? Not an exponent. Does this mean multiplication? Number next to parentheses. Yes, it does. That's a multiplication step. 5 plus negative 6, negative 1, final answer, donezo. All right, another Google form popping up. Make sure you are watching these videos before you tackle your forms. Take care, boys and girls. Hope to see you soon.